volt battery will exist, or it will get downsized, or so just get your thoughts on that. So.
Yes. So that's a very interesting question. So the 12-volt battery is necessary for mainly two things. One is power peak, and the second is capacity in case of failure of some of the systems. So peak power is needed. There are many 12-volt systems in the cars that require very high 12-volt power. So in the Tesla, for example, you would have the air suspension compressor. That's just an example, which it doesn't work all the time. It works only a very short period of time, but it drives high current. So to be able to, and many other systems in the car, including the entertainment systems, but require high power on the 12-volt network, but for a short duration. So as you know, the energy for the 12-volt system comes from the high voltage battery through a DC-DC converter. So you don't want to have a huge DC-DC converter only to cope for the high power peak. So that's where the battery comes as a buffer to deliver the power that you need. So
the storage unit, and then supply the power whenever it's needed, so that you are not running DC converter all the time, right?
Yes, correct. Or even if the DC-DC converter is running all the time, it's running at a lower power, lower current, and the battery is delivering the additional power when needed by the 12-volt systems.
Okay, got it.
So and traditionally in an internal combustion car, you do have this big, even a huge lead-acid battery, which is needed exactly for the same thing, but the main power requirement from the 12-volt battery is actually the starter, which needs to actually drive the big engine to start it up. So, and that's a huge peak, usually hundreds of amps. So that's why the systems are designed this way, and that's why a battery is still needed even in a battery electric vehicle. Even if you don't have the big engine to start, you still need some of the systems will need high power for a short time.
Yeah.
So that's
even the second. So it's just for the high power. Yes. Even the 12-volt, say, bulbs and headlights or some. I mean, they also need.
No, typically headlights is a lower power, especially with LEDs and so. But some of the systems in the 12-volt in the car, I mentioned the air suspension compressor, for example. You can some of the HVAC systems, some of the sometimes the ABS system, sometimes So
this is Andrew. Quick question. So in the future, do you expect some of these systems that require 12 volt to shift over to higher voltage requirements? I understand the need for this high current draw, but if everything starts to shift over to BEV, do you think they'll redesign some of these systems so they use a higher input voltage?
That's a good idea. That's exactly what is being done for the air conditioning compressor, for example, which is changing to high voltage, to the high voltage battery voltage, so typically 400 volts. And also the heating, electric heating which is used to heat the cabin, is using high voltage, so not using the 12-volt system. However, I think there will still be Let me see.